This will be a long one, so make sure you grab some popcorn. Throw away to protect identity, all the names are made up, blah blah blah. Let me start with a little background. Me, 28 male, and my wife, 26 female, married 3 years ago and have been together for 6 years. When we met, I was already in my third year of college for a special branch of a very productive industry, something like USA Army. You go into a different country for a few months, do some really dangerous jobs and get paid a lot, come back a few months and so on. In the beginning, I was going for 6, 8, or even 10 months away in order to promote as fast as possible. Now I went around 4 years of medium salary in my country in just 3 months. It's a hard job, but I love it. My wife was very supportive, and I always knew that this lifestyle was very hard for her to have. I always tried to spoil her and compensate for my time spent away with her with tons of gifts and trips to exotic places. 2 years ago, when I came home after an extended contract, I had to stay almost 2 more months because of all the flights and borders got shut down during COVID, but I got an extra 20% salary during this time. She told me she can't take it anymore. She goes crazy alone at home and she has nothing to do. She lost her job during COVID and didn't want to work again after that, which I fully support her because I wanted her to be happy and money wasn't a problem. I was petrified at first. I believe she wanted to break up. Then she continued with, "I love you so much and I want to give you my baby so I can care for him and have a little bit more of you when you're gone in contracts." After 5 months of hard work with no women in a 100-kilometer range, making a baby was done very fast. And multiple times, just to be sure, if you know what I'm talking about. I was nervous for the first month because we always feared we may not be able to make a baby. For the first 4 years, we didn't use any kind of protection except pull out, and she never got pregnant. But after a few weeks, she wakes me up with a long kiss and a smile on her face and shows me the test results. I was the happiest man alive. Everything changed. I was a man now. I was a father on top of the world. I was going with her on every doctor appointment, and during contracts, I was asking for echo sounds instead of nudes. Wink, wink. The birth had no complications and everything went amazing. 1 month later, I go on another contract to make some money that should cover everything for our baby. Halfway during this contract, I received a text from my wife which shattered my life. The text was short and simple, and I would never forget that 4 words sent to me in deepest depression I'd ever had. "I want a divorce." After a few days of talking back and forth, she said, "I want a divorce so I can marry with the love of my life." What? I was already preparing my suitcase because I made a request with my company to send me back as an emergency. When I got home, she and the baby was gone. 2 weeks later, I was in court to settle the divorce. During this, I found out she had a lover for well over 4 years and she plans on marrying him as soon as this divorce is done. Hold on 1 second, I need this hit for this. Alright, here we go. Now, the laws in my country are different, and I knew that my first priority should be a really good lawyer. My wife had a really shitty one, and she decided to speak by herself without the help of the lawyer most of the times. Her whole idea was, I am a woman and he is never home. Well, even if the laws usually favor women in my country, cheating is considered to be a break of contract, wedding contract. And she wanted to take full custody of our children in order for me to pay child support. I was not going to let this happen. I speak with my lawyer and an accountant, and it seems that I only had to pay child support from my base salary. My danger bonus is not included in child support, because it's for my life risk and mine alone. And because the company pays less taxes on the danger bonuses, I have a lot of them and my base salary is around 10% of my income. When she found out that she would take almost nothing from child support, I gave her the option of me taking full custody of the child with a no contract rule, and I'll never ask her for child support. She agreed in a second. Basically, she agreed to get out of our lives. We even changed the birth certificate of the child as me as the father and blank space for the mother. She gave up any kind of claim on the baby. During the trial, her lover was asked to come as a witness, and the idiot agreed. He is an AliExpress version of Andrew Tate, an alpha man who treats women like shit, and this seems to turn her on, and has a pretty good income. He has a small company. Less than half my salary, but he's always home, and it still is a lot for our country. Now, during the trial, he said they cheated behind my back for 3 years, and that the baby is his, and she tricked me to make her a baby in order not to find out about her cheating. No! He said that all this is just to make me feel horrible because this is actually illegal, something like alienate the love and other law terms, my lawyer explained to me. He basically said I knew they were married but decided to ruin the marriage. Now, at this point, the child situation was already done and an agreement was signed. The judge asked my wife if it was true and she said yes and ordered a DNA test to confirm. After the DNA test that confirmed what she said to the judge, she let me cancel the agreement and settle the situation with my wife now that the child is not biologically mine. I said, "No, Your Honor. This child is mine and I want to keep him." The judge was stunned for a minute, but then she said, "Well, if the agreement is a valid contract and since you don't want to void it, then Mr. L, you are the father and no one can take that child away from you. In my country, it doesn't matter who the biological parent is. It matters who the parent is in the documents." And since he knew he's the father since the beginning and did not come to the hospital to declare, he automatically canceled all his paternal claims. Oof. Sounds stupid, but it makes sense in order to protect the idea of a family. And if a man recognizes a fatherless child at the hospital, he should not fear that the biological father will come back in order to protect the value of family and encourage people to do a good thing and start a family and things like that. Now the divorce is over and I got my baby and my wife was out of my life. First thing I did was hire 3 babysitters to work 8 hours a day so my child has 24/7, someone to stay with him, and I have time to prepare my revenge. I started 2 separate companies with the help of an online assistant from India. You can hire them kinda cheap and they do whatever you need online. This guy made 2 super professional companies, one in industrial credits, give money to businesses for a lower rate than banks, and the second one was a copycat of my ex company, but this one was the same city as his. Both were made for just one client, my ex-wife lover. My assistant started sending tons of ads to my credit company to him. Emails, targeted Google, Facebook ads, etc. I was sure he knows that if he needs money, this is the place he can take a lot with low rates. Next, I made a lot of advertisements on the second company, but the company had only the machines and the rented space and only one worker, the cleaning lady. Every time someone called for work the company service, they get immediately declined because we're overbooked. My ex-lover, let's call him D, was one of them. Multiple times actually, he goes and gets mad every time he got rejected because he sees how big the competition is. Now it was time to give him the bait. Because my company had some quote-unquote problems in the main country, I don't even know in which country this company was registered, they changed the management and wanted to make some fast profit. The regional manager wanted to sell some of the equipment. When he heard this, he started calling out and sending emails to buy them out. The response was something like, "We are an international company, we can't sell the brand, but we can sell some equipment." It was illegal to me to sell the equipment without showing him the accountant's data, which was empty, but equipment I could sell with just a simple contract. He wanted the competition out of his city, he did not need the equipment. So the quote-unquote manager gave him a deal. If you buy our equipment for, let's say, 3 times the price, we can stay in the contract that we will not make business again in this city. In just 2 hours, I received the calls and emails on my first company for a credit for that equipment and blah blah. I knew he was out of money because he spent a lot on his future wedding with my ex-wife. Wait, this is getting kinda juicy. Also, hey, don't forget to hit the follow button while you're listening, okay? Thanks. I've sent him a contract. Based on our evaluation, the equipment is not worth that money, so he will need to give us a guarantee, his company, and he is not allowed to sell any equipment or parts of his company until he pays back everything. If he gets behind payments for 6 months straight, I get all of it. Oh. Also in the contract, I stated that the credit company will buy that equipment directly. Basically, I just give myself my money. And I made sure every single word of contract is legal and that a good deal is good enough for him to take it. Later that same day, he sent me the signed contract. Oh my god. Now, normally you should be able to pay for everything if the clients he'd hoped for would get something from the company leaving or non-existent. He still should be able to pay if he gives me around 80% of his company income for the next 5 years. Now, fast forward a bit. In the day of the wedding, I go to give him an envelope. In my country, you give money in envelopes as a wedding gift. He starts to laugh at me and tell me to get out because I'm not invited and he doesn't need the money. I smiled and told him to open it. He looks inside and he was expecting to come into court next week. He laughs and asks what this is and I told him, "See you in court, enjoy your wedding night, bro!" Next week he came. I was suing him for child support. As I said in my country, if you're aware that if you have a child and refuse to go to the hospital to recognize them, you are no longer the father, but you're still forced to pay child support, and it's actually an increased rate because you tried to dodge responsibility like running from a car accident scene. He did not want to pay. We tried to say that he wants a child or co-custody, that he is biological and blood, blah, blah, blah. This made me happy because I wanted to drag the trial as much as possible to drain him of all of his money. But I couldn't after the judge saw all of his declarations during the divorce trial. She ended the trial really fast and forced him to pay me 40% of his and the company income since the child was born until he will finish college or I get married. And guess who didn't manage to pay? And guess who is the new owner of his company? Don't forget to follow for more! I got fired and cost the store approximately $30,000, r/malicious compliance. I was working a second job at a local small grocery and butcher shop, a few nights a week to pay for my kids' activities. I was hired as a cashier. The person that did the end of the day butcher shop cleanup/sanitizing quit. So instead of hiring someone for cleanup, the owners decided the cashiers could just do it between customers. The owner sat at their office watching TV and fucking around. When a customer came in, doorbell would ring. They would buzz the phone in the butcher area for the cashier to come check them out. When I came in from my shift at 6 p.m., I was told about the new setup. I told them no. I was not hired to clean up the butcher area. I was hired to run the register and stock the shelves. The owner then said I could come clean the butcher shop or I could consider myself fired, and they walked away. I said fine, grabbed my things and left. Apparently, the owner thought I had gave in and was in doing the cleaning. So they buzzed the butcher area when customers came in for about 2 hours before someone told them no one was going to come check them out. The store's liquor area, cigarettes, and scratchers got emptied out. It was 7:30 and I got a scream phone call from the owner about how he was calling the police and I was going to get arrested. Owner did call the police. The owner stated that he wanted me arrested as an accomplice to the thefts because I had left. The cops asked me to come to the store, which I did, and I explained that the owner had fired me, so I went home and the CCTV would prove that fact. The tape was reviewed, and as plain as day, the owner said I was fired. I estimate they lost about $30,000. Follow for more stories. Yes, please punish me by making it harder for you to bother me, r/malicious compliance. The owner of a small company issued me a company cell phone that I didn't need and felt that gave him an excuse to call me anytime, day or night, work day or not, with stupid questions. He also kept giving us those of us with company cell phones changing rules about using phones. One rule was that we had to answer ASAP. Another rule is that we're not able to talk on the phone while driving. We had to pull over and park, then answer and talk. It's hard to find filming spots inside a Walmart. One morning I'm driving to work and should get to the office about 15 minutes early when he rings my phone. Morning traffic is heavy near the office and it takes me time to get out of traffic and park in the parking lot before I answer. He keeps it ringing the whole time. When I finally answers, he asks, "Where are you?" I tell him that I'm about 10 minutes from the office, but I had to stop to answer his call. He asks, "Why aren't you here yet?" And I tell him again that I probably would have been at the office by now, but his call and rules have me sitting in a parking lot instead. I ask, "What's the hurry? Is there an emergency?" "If I wasn't interrupted, I would have been in the office early," he responds. "Why aren't you coming?" Okay, that was actually kind of sketchy. They almost stole my phone. I remind him of his rule that I'm not answering his phone and drive at the same time. This type of stupid behavior continues for a while until he gets tired. Now, about 15 minutes late, we get to the office, the owner meets me and demands that I give him back the phone, says I do not deserve it. Hooray, now he's unable to keep calling me and bothering me. About a week later, the owner stops into my cube and asks me why I'm not answering his cell phone calls. I remind him that he confiscated that phone. Apparently he shoved it into a drawer and he can't hear it ring. Yes, I moved on to greener pastures not long after this. Follow for more Reddit stories. I gotta get out of this Walmart, bro.